In Pit Lane, brought to you by Online Invent, and with thanks to our Platinum Star Patreon supporters. Welcome to another edition of In Pit Lane, coming to you right across Melbourne on Channel 31, and of course if you're watching us on demand on the In Pit Lane YouTube channel. Well, a big weekend of motorsport in New Zealand and across the world. We're going to catch up on that a little bit later on in the program. Joining us tonight in the program, look, it's a bit like, you know, the program's turning into young talent time. I mean, our guest last week was over 13 years old. Well, one of our guests tonight is only 11 years old. What were you doing when you were 11? No, apart from that. No, I bet you that you weren't going to race a motorcycle in Spain. Well, tonight our guest, Jackson McDonald, is going to join us, along with his father, Glenn. They're going to talk about, he's leaving in a couple of weeks' time, heading out to Spain to race motorcycles all over Spain. He'll be telling us about that a little bit later on in the program. Also, we've got some music for you again, because tonight we're going to be joined by A Man Called Sun. He's going to join us for a song a little bit later on to take us out of the program. Alongside me is a man called Doc. And g'day, Doc, how are you?
Good yourself, Brett. G'day, viewers. Got a little bit of inside info about some overseas stuff. Thanks for the segue. Did you know Pirelli changed the tyre pressures minimum for in between the sprint race?
They didn't.
Sprint race and the real Grand Prix on the weekend, and that might have had something to do with the outcome of some of the teams and the drivers and where the cars placed at the end.
Well, we'll have something to look for. I'd normally say we'll discuss that tomorrow night on Wednesday night on Full Course Yellow, but this week there was no Full Course Yellow, remembering that this program actually does go to air on Thursday night. Anyway, let's find out what's been happening around Australia and around the world. Let's go to the In Pit Lane Motorsport News. Well, a bumper crowd at New Zealand's Taupo circuit last weekend saw local driver Andre Heimgardner and Triple Eight's Will Brown share the race wins. The two third-place finishers meant, though, that it was consistent Anton Di Pasquale who leaves New Zealand with the highly sought-after Jason Richards Trophy. Despite some rain on Saturday, the event attracted a large crowd to the meeting in the popular tourist region, which replaces Pukekohe as the New Zealand round of the Supercar series. A $5 million investment by the New Zealand government, with a further $900,000 payment from the local regional council, means that the venue has secured the event for the next 5 years.
The success of the meeting has further encouraged talk of a second New Zealand round. Taupo track owner Tony Quinn, who also owns two other Kiwi circuits, Hampton Downs and Highlands Motorsport Park, says the success of Taupo proves that the demand is there for a second New Zealand round of the championship. While Hampton Downs is, like Taupo, on the North Island, the spectacular Highlands circuit is on the South Island, just 45 minutes from the popular winter tourist area of Queenstown. Isn't it so beautiful there? Most teams, however, are lukewarm on the idea, citing the increased costs of two New Zealand rounds and splitting the limited local corporate support in two.
And speaking of circuits, good news for motorsport in the top end as the Northern Territory government announces a further $3 million worth of upgrades to the Hidden Valley circuit. The upgrades are focused on facilities and accessibility, with a shade canopy in the pits and more garage space, a new control tower and medical centre, and a new entrance to the venue. Funding for other upgrades, including lights, shaded grandstands and a new campsite, will come in the future. Announcing the upgrades, Chief Minister Eva Lawler said, "Territorians love their motorsport and we're making sure that every fan can enjoy a day out at Hidden Valley."
F1 returned to China, so it's a return to the top step of the podium for Max Verstappen, with another dominant performance at the Chinese Grand Prix. After winning Saturday's sprint race, Verstappen had another comfortable day out, just a walk in the park, in a class of his own as he cruised to his fourth win of the season and the 58th of his career. The three-time world champion controlled the race, finishing 13.7 seconds ahead of McLaren's Lando Norris, with Red Bull teammate Sergio Perez third, a further 6 seconds back. Oscar Piastri survived car damage from fellow Aussie Daniel Ricciardo to take 8th place. However, Ricciardo's bad run continued after the rear-end collision from Lance Stroll, causing him to hit Piastri's car. That forced him out of the race. Add furthering insult to injury, Ricciardo has been handed a 3-place grid penalty for breaching safety car regulations, a penalty he is set to serve in 2 weeks' time in the Miami Grand Prix.
Well, while we here in Australia, as the days grow shorter and time slips through our fingers like the sands through an hourglass, the Northern Hemisphere emerges from another frigid, miserable winter like a butterfly escaping a cocoon, or a wet fart after a particularly spicy curry. But it all started in Italy last weekend, the racing, not the wet fart, with round 2 of the World Endurance Championship at Imola, and it's there where we'll kick off this week's In Pit Lane in Vallecrusso Internazionale. The Toyota Gazoo Racing GR010, driven by Kamui Kobayashi, Mike Conway and Nick De Vries, has scored victory at the 6 Hours of Imola, round 2 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. Despite pressure from the Porsche Penske 963 of Kevin Estra, Kobayashi held firm to claim victory by a narrow margin for the number 7 crew's first win since the 2023 6 Hours of Fuji. In the LMGT3 class, Team WRT, BMW M4 driven by Augusto Farfus, Darren Lung and Sean Gallale executed a flawless strategy to clinch victory. Making the brave move to stay out on slicks during a heavy rain shower, they led home the sister car of Maxime Martin, Ahmed El Houthi and local hero Valentino Rossi for a BMW 1-2. Toyota driver Tyler Reddick has claimed victory in the NASCAR Sprint Cup race at Talladega Superspeedway after race leader Michael McDowell's attempt to block Brad Keselowski resulted in a late race crash. In his Talladega debut, Shane Van Gisbergen led on 3 occasions but faced some late race setbacks, ultimately finishing back in 26th place. The NASCAR season continues with the next race at Dover Motor Speedway next weekend, where Van Gisbergen will once again compete in the Xfinity Series race. And speaking of fast New Zealand drivers, a fuel-saving masterclass from the experienced Scott Dixon saw the New Zealand veteran to the checkered flag at the Long Beach Grand Prix for the second time in his storied career. Running an alternate strategy to the rest of the field, Dixon held off the challengers of first Joseph Newgarden, then Colton Herter, despite the need to save fuel to clinch a brilliant win. Australia's Will Power led early in the race before being passed by his fellow Formula Holden alumni, falling back eventually to finish in 6th place. Scotty McLaughlin suffered mechanical problems, retiring with 15 laps to go.
How about those NASCAR skittles? It's like watching them run everywhere. And Rebby Gardner has become the first Aussie to finish on a World Superbike podium in 14 years. Gardner was third in race 2 at Assen, behind Toprak Razagotlu, I always get that one wrong, and Alvaro Bautista.
And we're going to take a break now on In Pit Lane. When we come back, we're going to be joined by our special guest, Glenn McDonald and his son Jackson, to talk motorcycle racing and later on music from A Man Called Sun. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
Okay, yes, thank you once again to Roy and the Online Event. Incidentally, the pictures you see before us, the vision you see behind us tonight on the program is supplied by Roy from Motorsport, from his YouTube channel, motorsportarchives.com. Yeah, that's the Tracy Speedway Revival at Maribyrnong just recently. We've done that a couple of times and they get a really good turnout.
Little hidden gem, that one.
Year. Yeah, it's always there's some beautifully turned out cars there. That worries me. People are taking liberties with my personage at the moment, which always worries me. Do we have a... How often have I heard someone say, "I'm sorry, we can't find your pack"?
Did you get griped?
I mean, at my age, it's very difficult to find your pack.
Was that a gripe or a grope?
I don't know. Have we had a problem with audio?
All the above.
No, never.
I haven't heard a thing from the IFBs, have you?
Direct audio.
I heard Ness, but that's about it. That's all.
Well, Ness is all we need. Ness or Helen, all we need to
I was going
hear
to say,
from.
like the Beatles, Oh, there you go.
There we go,
And
yep.
love is all we need too.
There. Okay, so we go. Okay, so anyway, we had a few musical problems, but as I said, thank you to Roy for all of the footage behind us. Some great stuff there, and you can say if you want to see more from there, go to his website, which is motorsportarchives.com on YouTube.
Search engine optimization.
Very good, very good.
SEO, that was too.
SEO.
I've remembered it. So Roy is an expert on search SEO, search engine optimization. That's a technical term for social media. Eat your heart out, and he knows how to do it all perfectly.
That is true. Well, joining us right now on the program, tonight's musical guest is a man called Sun, and he'll be actually touring as you might have heard before, he'll be touring the New South Wales South Coast on the 17th to the 26th of May. He's going to Yass, Eden, to Bermagui, Narooma, and Majors Creek. Look, for all the tour details, visit A Man Called Sun on Facebook or Instagram. But right now, here he is, A Man Called Sun with Slowing to a Crawl.
Where are you now, my friend? I've come to make amends. To steer us on the right track, to wind the clocks back. This is the last card in the pack. I'm here to clear the debt, and we can ride off into the sunset. But there's so much traffic, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, yeah. Slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, makes no sense at all. Circle the streets at night, just like a broken satellite. You were my partner in crime, but now I'm doing time. Shackled to the past, the wall too high to climb, and I've cleaned out the aisles. There ain't a soul for miles. Everything is slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl. Makes no sense at all. Slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl, yeah. Slowing to a crawl, slowing to a crawl. makes no sense at all. Makes no sense at all. Makes no sense at all.
We've been feeding the gremlins after dark again here on In Pit Lane. Now, joining us on the program tonight, well, our guest at 11 years old, I mean, he's heading off not just down to Rosebud for a bit of camping or over, over to Grandma's place on the south coast of New South Wales or something. No, he's going to race motorcycles in Spain, and he's heading off in a couple of weeks' time. So to find out all about it, joining us tonight is the young man concerned. His name is Jackson McDonald, and alongside of him is his father, Glenn. Guys, welcome to In Pit Lane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Jackson, let's start with you. This is not your first time in Spain, is it? Tell us about going over there last year.
Yeah, so we went over there last year in November, and we basically just went over there to just dip our toes in the water and to see if we really want to do this and if we always just want to go over there and do it.
Spain is like really important. I mean, we all know motorcycle. Obviously, that's where Dorna is, headquartered and all this. But Spain is like really, really important in the career of a young motorcycle racer, isn't it? Is that the place to be?
Yeah, it really is the place to be because that is the heart of road racing, and you basically want to be there from the start so then you get your name out there as quick as possible.
And how much bike riding did you do over there, and what sort of bike were you on, Jackson?
So when we were over there, we were on a bike called a Mia Racing Moto 5 bike. Mm-hmm. So that is a 250 that they customly made, and we didn't do that much riding. Like we did like maybe an hour and a bit on like trials riding and just working over on that, like trying to focus on like balancing the bikes. They are pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. And we'd spent around a day at Aragon and Morodebro just on the kart tracks practicing.
Yep, that would have been pretty cool. So have you ridden something that big before in Australia before you went, or it was all new to you?
I have rode a bike pretty similar to that, but that was like when I first started. It was called a Yamaha R15, which is pretty popular over here for some of the juniors. So we first tried out on that, and then Dad did some research and he found out this bike is called a Honda RS85. So he did the research, he went on this Facebook page and said, hey, is anyone willing to sell a Honda RS85? And it basically just started off from there.
Cool. And so you still do a little bit of trail bike riding as well though too, since you swapped over?
I haven't done any since then because we just mainly want to focus on one thing in that.
It's taken up a lot of time with the road bikes, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Glenn, from your point of view, I mean, it's very important, isn't it, as Jackson's saying, I mean, to get there really early nowadays, but it's obviously a huge investment for you guys, not just in terms of the money it takes to go over there, but also what it does to your family. I mean, how long are you going to be over there in Spain? And I mean, how do you navigate that thing with your other kids and with your family and your work here?
Yeah, well, it's an 8-round series this year, and as Jackson was saying, we went over last year just to try round, I think it was round 5, and see what it was all about, get a feel for it. But we're going back again this year for the full 8 rounds, starting in the 1st of June, and those 8 rounds go all the way through to November. As far as the commitment goes, it's a lot of planning. My family's very athletic. I've also got a daughter, Mackenzie, who is a 9-time national taekwondo champion and represented Australia around the world. So a lot of it is planning, and also the financial contribution that is such a big effort to go over to Spain, and we're very lucky that we've got a good family over there, which is RTF Motorsport, and that's Ricky Fleming, His two sons, Varas and Tyrion, also are based over there full time in Spain, near the famous Aragon circuit. And we've had
Ricky on the show, I think.
Yes, you had Tyrion. Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
Tyrion, yeah.
You had Tyrion on. So when we go over to Spain, we're lucky we've got a really good network that helps us and bridges that gap. And as you were saying, starting quite young is a really good asset to start to build a good foundation from.
You just mentioned there's a great networking, and the association themselves will probably help you. How many circuits will you be doing across those 8? Is it just based in one area, or are you going to be doing a bit of a grand tour in the motorhome of Spain as well?
Well, we head over for the first round, and it's hard. We've got a family business here in Melbourne. So we'll go over for the first round, which is normally about a week and a half. We'll fly in and fly out. Then there's about a 3-week gap between rounds 1 and 2. So we'll go over and we'll then race round 2 and 3, and I'll go home after round 3. However, Jackson is going to stay over for a following 3 weeks, so he'll be over there for about a 6-week period. School is still very important to us, so we've got to try and juggle that as well. We've got a very, very good school that Jackson goes to, and so we'll be over there for the 4 rounds, and then there's a big break, they call it like a summer break for Spain, and then we'll go back and we'll fire back up for rounds 5, 6, 7 and 8 and see the rest of the year out. So
You're starting, Jackson, at a very young age. I mean, at the moment you're 11 years old, but I mean, when you're an old man of like 16 or like, where do you want to be?
Yeah, I really just want to try be the best as I can, like try hopefully being like Moto3, Rebel Rookies, like either World Super Sport or Superbike.
And just on that, where you want to go, you've got some heroes as well though too. So what number's on your bike?
My number's 26.
And who's that in homage to?
26. Danny Pedrosa.
Right, and he could be, you never know, you might actually be able to catch up with him because he's around Spain a fair bit, and also he's a wild card sometimes in the MotoGP circuit, so that'd be fantastic. Anyone else that is any Australian heroes that you've recognised over the year that you would like to meet one day, or you'd like to follow in their footsteps?
Yeah, I'm hopefully be able to follow in either Wayne Gardner or like Mick Doohan or Stoner, either of those three, because to me they're like the greatest. I just love the way that they ride and how hard they've like trained to get there.
You might not be name dropping them one day. You might be following jumping in their shoes and maybe on their bikes. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Very much so. Now listen, stay with us. We're going to take a break in just a moment, but stay with us for a moment. We'll come back and we'll catch up with more from our special guests in Jackson and Glenn McDonald a little bit later on in the program. Also joining us will be our musical guest, A Man Called Sun. You're watching In Pit Lane on Channel 31. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Get the phone ringing for your business with website development and SEO services from Online Invent. Visit onlineinvent.com.au.
And once again, thank you to our Online Event, and thank you. We're coming. We've got about 5 shows before we take our winter break, before we go into sort of hibernation for 13 weeks. We will be coming. The plan is to come back, of course, for the second half of a very busy year of motorsport, both here and around Australia, and of course all the wrap up of the international scene as well. But
how many weeks do we have off, Yogi?
We will have 13 weeks off.
13 weeks off, Yogi.
13 weeks. It's just
hibernation for 13 weeks.
13 weeks and 13 weeks. 13 weeks on, 13 weeks off. It's not a bad way to live your life. But that will only happen, of course, if we can get the support that we need in order to come back. As we could say every week, it does cost, believe it or not, it does cost money to produce this program every week. There's lots of things that we simply can't do. I mean, we had hill climbs at the weekend up at Bryant Park. We just don't have the budget to go up there at the moment. So out there we've got things coming up. We are getting up to Winton for some historic racing coming up. That's going to cost us, basically.
So we won't be in the cave for the 13 weeks of hibernation. I imagine they'll be teasing us out and drawing us out with some honey and food.
Yeah, we'll be doing some stuff. We'll be doing some full course yellow. Probably we'll move full course yellow to a Thursday night at 9 o'clock to fit in with the regular time slot of In Pit Lane. But also there'll be special features coming up, special places we're going to, including the Winton Historics, which sort of happens in the last week that we're on air. there. But as I said, if you enjoy the show, and a lot of people do, it's one of Channel 31's most successful long-running programs, and if you would like to associate your company with the program and help keep the show on the air, then please contact us here at In Pit Lane at advertise@inpitlane.com or the show at inpitlane.com, and we can tell you all about how you can be involved in joining us here on Channel 31 for the next season of In Pit Lane starting at the end of August.